sun continues to come up and starts to warm our backs, we're going to head west and or northwest down this road and see what happened in the night. The roads are a beautiful sort of storybook of what happens during the night in the bush when we're all asleep. Okay, here we go. So I don't think you heard this last time, but the night was fairly quiet last night. The odd hooting hyena. And this morning, very early when I got up, I heard the low grunt of what initially I thought to be a lion, but was in fact a flock of highly endangered ground hornbills. And I'm not sure if you've seen any of them. They're enormous sort of black turkey-like birds. And they often call sort of before the horizon turns that sort of soft blue color in the pre-dawn. And they've got a very deep call, which sounds a little bit like a lioness on the hunt. Well done to all of you on the tree, those who took part in our little tree quiz yesterday. I've yet to find a species that I can stump you with. I'm going to continue with that, and eventually I'll find something that somebody doesn't know. But so far you've proved me all wrong, which is excellent. Not sure how many of you have actually been to Africa, but hopefully this will inspire and allow you to come and see the great continent that we call home. Quite astonishing, the technology now that allows us to come basically onto your desk from the most magnificent wilderness in southern Africa. Ooh. And Andrew has just spotted a huge bird. If you can see him there. Looks like a gymnogene or African harrier hawk. There we go. Yeah, that's exactly what he is. The gymnogene or African harrier hawk is not a particularly pleasant bird if you happen to be a small bird. Now look, if you can see what he's looking at, he's got his head in what is probably a tree hole nest, and the gymnogene's got what we call a double jointed intertarsus, which means basically the knee joint on his leg bends both ways so that he can reach into holes, nests and holes where chicks of hole nesting birds might be living. And there he goes. And his feet, because the knee joint bends both ways, can explore any tree cavity there might be. Spotted, Andrew.
Thank you, thank you.
Really nice and warm up here on the crest, and the flow of air that we get in the night time is just sort of reversing. It's called katabatic flow. When the warm air of the day comes up the slopes and the cold air of the night sort of sinks down into the depressions. Off to the west in front of the vehicle there, we've got the Drakensberg Mountains. You can just see the outline. I'm just going to ask Andrew to zoom in there as far as he can. They're pretty hazy this morning. But over there we have South Africa's world famous Drakensberg Mountains, just beyond the sort of last line of the horizon that you can see there. I can see them, but I don't think you can see them on the camera. There was a warthog. He's gone. Bad luck, sorry, we missed him. He had no tail, so obviously he's had a fairly shocking existence thus far. And those Drakensberg Mountains extend more than I think it's about 2,500 kilometers from basically where we can see them here down into the eastern highlands of the Eastern Cape. So out in the region that we are now, it's called the low veld, which means low land basically, or low bush. And we sit at about 450 meters above sea level, which in feet is probably about 1,400 feet. And up on the mountains there, the highest point is probably about 1,800 meters above sea level, so more than a mile. In Belfast and Johannesburg is a mile high city. It's like Denver, Colorado. Aye, minjani emhlabeni? Ngivukile, amkumanga inchumo namuhla.
Lokumatinyari kwala Ndebele.
Okay, ngibonga. And that's one of the game guards. Obviously, very important function that they have in this area. Of poachers, and in this area they seem to have very successfully shut down on a lot of the illegal poaching that was going on. Not all of it that of activity. A lot of it has to do with poverty that exists around African areas, and so often people will come in and hunt food for the pot. Major issue. But it's something that we have to be aware of always. Cross over to Brent now. He was on some lion tracks. I'm not sure what he's doing now. In fact, with Brent, you seldom know. We're going to cross over into his vehicle, and I'll see you just now.
Morning, everyone. Welcome on the Sunrise Safari. My name's Brent. I have Bryon and the thumb on camera, and it's really good to be out in this crisp early morning. It's about 16 degrees Celsius, which is about 60 Fahrenheit. We've had a quite an interesting morning so far. We found tracks of a pride of lions. I'm not sure which pride. Unfortunately, they crossed over our southern boundary. I'm now just trying to decipher what's going on here. I've got male and female leopard tracks on the same place. They're walking one way and walking the other. I'm going to show you the tracks shortly. But just if there's anyone new, we are live, so you are seeing what we are seeing in real time at the same time as us. And we are interactive, so you can send us emails and send us questions via email and via Twitter while we're out here. And you can do that by using the email address at WildEarth.tv, and or use the hashtag Safari Live on Twitter. So I'm going to get a shot of these tracks for you. But there's just tracks going in every which direction, and I'm trying to figure out which is the most fresh. I'm just going to scoop on. I think the ones going back behind us are the most fresh. But now there's others coming this way now. Oh, just for confusion's sake. There's the male track coming up on the left and the female track's on the right. So, not just trying to figure out what's going on here. There's a lot of up and downs by these leopards at the moment. What I will try to do is show you the two tracks next to each other, so you can see which is the male and which is the female, and the size difference between them. I see it. That female track there is on top of the civets and other small animals that are nocturnal, so I think that's probably going to be the most fresh. So I'm just going to show you where we've got both tracks together. Too close?
No, a little bit close.
Okay. Change the angle a bit like that. Oh, I still just a little bit too close still. So I'm gonna point them out, and then I'll come back to the vehicle to speak. So I don't know if you could see that. The male track was so much bigger. It almost was wide as 4 of my fingers together, whereas the female track was only about 2.5 of my fingers together. So there's really confusing tracks here. They're going in every which direction. So we're just going to try and decipher what's going on here. Looking at is there's a couple of nocturnal species that have been on this road as well, and I'm looking for the track that is on top of animals like civets and thick knees, Truck goes off there. And she turns around. I think those tracks we're following down there that were on top of the civet tracks look to be the most fresh. That was of the female. The male seems to cross the road right here. That's where the male tracks head off across the road. The male tracks look like they're probably slightly earlier in the day. I mean, in the evening last night. So I think the female tracks, they definitely seem to be the most fresh out of the two sets. Giving me the go around this morning, these tracks. Now I've just got civet tracks. Well, this looks like there's been something up ahead here. Nope, just hippopotami. I don't have any tracks now, so I think possibly going to have to head back into that area with that pandemonium of tracks and try to figure out which is the last direction that female went. I'm going to check a bit further down this road, just in case she's popped off and popped on. But so far the only tracks we've got in this area are civet.
Heading north, I'm going to get a shortcut. Can't see where they go off the road. I think they head off in the westerly direction. About 400 meters south of the coastline. I'll follow for a while.
Well, there definitely seems to be some interesting ongoings with our leopard population at the moment. Very strange tracks, and a lot of them are covering big distances. And we tracked a female leopard yesterday that literally walked from the western corner right across to the eastern corner.
Pretty early last night.
Apparently there's a... So apparently there's quite a bit of chatter about my gloves or mitts. As I said, it's about 60 degrees Fahrenheit, which for a lot of our viewers is probably a balmy, warm day. But for us bush boys, we don't do well in the cold generally, and me especially. So these are my beginning of winter gloves. They're just nice little warm mitts. But I'm sure as it comes closer to June and July, you'll see me wearing skiing gloves. I really don't like my fingers getting cold in the early mornings on game drive. And I'd rather be warm than tough. My dad has a saying he uses quite often, it's tough being tough, and I'd rather be warm. Hi Brenda, welcome on the Sunrise Safari here at Djuma Private Game Reserve in the Sabi Sands, South Africa. Brenda would like to know, could the tracks be of a female and her cub? I don't think so, Brenda. Definitely adult female and an adult male. So definitely not a female and cub, and those tracks look to be slightly different ages. So what's probably happened is there's a scent mark in that area, and they've both stopped to smell each other's scent marks. Susie, welcome on Sunrise Safari. Susie would like to see the civet track, and there's some nice civet tracks right next to us there. So even though it looks like a cat track, it is not. I'm going to show you quickly.
Choose one.
Let's go in. So you can see there, I've put a piece of grass across the back pad. So on a civet track, one of the ways to tell that it's not a smaller cat, apart from the fact it's only got 2 lobes at the back. I actually think I'm going to move it to the other track. It's better to see. There we go. So with a civet, if you take a nice straight piece of grass and you put it across the track, where the back toes end is almost always exactly in the middle, so it cuts the track in half. And if you look at cat tracks and that, the toes are far more forward, so they'll only cut about a quarter, not even a quarter, of the top part of the track, where those 2 side toes, the back end of them. So that's one of the ways to tell that it's not a small cat. So we're just going to check down to this road junction. If we get no luck here, we're going to head back up to where all that mess of tracks were. Welcome on Sunrise Safari. Jody would like to know, is that mist we're seeing in the distance in the trees? It is, Jody. In the cold mornings, we do get quite a bit of mist. Sometimes it can be very, very thick. At the moment, just a light sprinkling. James.
Standing by.
James, I'm pretty sure I've got tracks of that animal you're following.
Okay, copy.
So, James was following...
Yeah, they're going through the area.
Can we confirm near the gate? Try and figure out what's happening with these leopards, and in the meantime we're going to cross over to James and see what he's been up to, and we'll be back with you a little later. James, confirm that's dumping ground near the Gari gate.
Hey, affirmative, there's dumping ground near the Gari gate, and I'm now heading south.
Copy. That could be different sets then from the one we're following. We've got male and female tracks on Gari Main near the Shabam, so near the Weaver's Nest junction. Tracks are heading up and down the road. We're just trying to figure out which way they crossed.
course.
Welcome back to Wendy, everyone. We've just picked up some fairly fresh tracks of a big male leopard. He's heading down sort of south in towards the reserve, so we're going to follow up on those and see what we can find. Please excuse the radio there. And we haven't seen much as yet, but it is the most glorious morning. So we're hoping these tracks don't cross out of the reserve. We're quite close to our western boundary, and this road heads off into some thick bush, so we're going to go around the side here. You do hear a bit of noise. We're near the game warden's house. Nice to live in this sort of area where you can have leopards walking past your garden every day. And then we'll see what we can see. Any questions or especially about which animal? I'm quite new to the area, so about which animals these could be, which leopards could be, send to or questions about it.
So we're heading back into this area where we last had those tracks, and we're just going to try to figure out exactly what's going on. Fingers crossed that they have stayed or gone north onto Vuyatela, and they haven't crossed south. So we're just checking very carefully. I'm trying to make sure I haven't missed a track. The last track I had that was on top of the civet tracks was around here, a little bit further past the hippo tracks. It is like a big puzzle. You've got to sort of sift through the pieces. Actually, maybe puzzle's not the correct word. Like a mystery. You've got to unravel all the little pieces. Here we go. That female track. No, I'm not 100% sure which way she went. Because from here we don't have any tracks again. So she's definitely left the road in this vicinity. Just gonna park the vehicle facing up the road so you can see what I'm up to while I try just figure out which way this female leopard has gone. And also, guys, you must just listen carefully. You never know. While we're sitting here, I want you to try to listen to all the sounds. It's a very still morning, so if there are any alarm calls and that, we might be able to pick them up on the microphones. So I'm just going to take a minute or two. I'm just going to be walking around in front of the vehicle, just trying to figure out which way that this leopard went.
Yeah, stations just had a Ingwe coloring. Probably sort of western side of the 90s road. Gary Main, Triple M, somewhere that.
Confirm that audio is west of Balanites Road.
Yeah, affirmative. I'm not sure if it's still at Vuyatana side. It might have been on the other side of Triple M.
Okay, copy, thanks.
Well, unfortunately, after all that, it looks like she has crossed to the south. So we're going to leave the area, maybe head down towards our eastern boundary, and see if we can find any tracks or anything in that area. She crossed the road in this mitre drain here, heading to the south, and we've checked all the way down towards Twin Dams, and she hasn't popped out onto the road again. Those mail tracks cross also in this area, so I think it's time to move on. We've tried our best to find these tracks, but unfortunately we can't follow them any further. A valuable experience tracking an animal. You can never ever track enough to become good enough, in my opinion. You always learn something each time you track, and I'm a little bit disappointed in myself. I should have seen where those tracks left a bit earlier. They were just so fresh and I was a little bit too excited. Festa lenta, rush slowly. My art teacher used to tell me that, so I tend sometimes go a little bit too quickly. I'm just going to have a chat with one of the game drive vehicles here as we're continuing on. So if you hear me talking, that's what I'll be doing. Morning. How's it? So, Brent. Stefan. Nice to meet you, Stefan. Are you guys going? Anything like it? No, just lots of tracks. There's been a male and female leopard here that have been up and down. Now they've crossed into here. We are actually conducting a live game drive at the moment. You can have a look online. It's WildSafariLive.com. And so with people watching us, we take them on game drive twice a day.
Out of the air and the freshness. Yeah, I got put on the vehicle.
Enjoy, guys. We'll see you later. If anyone's sort of signed in a little bit late this morning, just so that you know, we've been following up on tracks of a male and a female leopard. Unfortunately, they have crossed south. We're following tracks for Pride Lions. Unfortunately, they crossed south. But don't worry, our luck has to change eventually. Next week, all the tracks are going to be crossing north. Taz. As I'm going down this hill, we might experience a little bit of breakup of signal, so I'm not going to speak till we've got through the bottom. some reason on that little patch there we tend to get a bit of signal breakup, but it's normally quite stable down here. And that temperature has actually dropped quite considerably as we've come down from the top of the hill down towards the drainage system. And I'm even regretting taking my gloves off at the moment. But it'll warm up again as we go up the other side. A lot of cat movement happening at the moment. We're just trying to. It's going to be very interesting to figure out all the comings and goings in the next couple of months. Lion! Nice, Bryon! Yeah, we've got lions, guys! So I was busy putting my glove on. Awesome. And we've now found, it looks like I can see a lioness in the road and a nice big male next to us. Good spot, Bryon. He looks like he's definitely on a mission. Looks like one of the Matimba males. The lioness is walking away from us up the road. Station's got a male and female ngala on Gari Main. Just to the east of the Mulwati crossing. Oh, it has another male. Yeah, the two Matimbas. You can see there's behind him the lioness in the road. Guys, which female do you think this possibly is with these two males? Which pride? She's now turned around, she's coming down the road. So we'll get a nice look at her shortly. So we're on our southern boundary, quite close to Twin Dam. So which female do you think this, or which pride do you think this female belongs to? You can hear the guinea fowl shouting at her. Just keeping my eyes on the males. It looks like they might head off the road. So you can send your answers about which. Was there a second one there? Yes, there is, just popping out. Which pride of females do you think this is? I can see two lionesses now. And you can send your answers to questions at wildearth.tv or use the hashtag Safari Live on Twitter. Oh, very upset guinea fowl. They definitely look like they're looking for something at the moment, these two males that are marching both sides of the road.
Where are you now? I'm on my bus.
So we're just sitting still at the moment trying to figure out. Oh, we got one of the big boys is lying down. So the girls look very interested in something up there. I'm just going to head towards them. See, just as I was saying, our Cadillac had to change all the tracks. Some of the tracks are going to have to be coming north. Let's have a look quickly up the road there, Brian. There's guinea fowl on the lioness. You can hear those guinea fowl going crazy, alarming. And unfortunately, it looks like they're about to cross our boundary. But if we have a look at this nice big boy next to us, and we have a look closely at his face, we can see there's quite a few scars and scratches, and that is unfortunately what male lions will have to do a lot of. They fight to keep other males out of their territory, but also when they feed, they'll fight with each other, so it's quite possible those could actually be from one of his coalition member or the pride. But also they will fight for mating rights over females between the coalition members.
Yeah, stations. I think the English that I heard crossed your line. Crossing over.
And looks, I can hear that other male walking around the drainage line behind us.
Can I come in? Tara, where you hear those English calling?
Yeah, west of Balanites. So I'm on triple main now. Probably about 100 meters.
I can see one of the lionesses still, but barely. I'm just going to sit here with this guy. He's watching what that other coalition member's up to. He's walking up and down in the drainage line behind us, about to come back up into the road behind us. So I just heard a lot of you guys think it's the Styx females. That is a very good guess where we are now. They do. This is sort of the right on the edge of their territory. We have seen them around twin dams and in this area a few times. So yes, I would probably think it's the Styx females. Remember, one of those females has 3 little cubs at the moment. They obviously, I don't think they're definitely not with them this morning, but in a couple of weeks they should start moving with the lionesses. See where that other guy went? Oh, he's still there. Yeah. Confirmed, did any stations copy my update about Bengala? And yeah, all the birds are very upset to have these predators in their vicinity. Move quickly to get a view. Actually, you just lost my ears for a second there. Look at that, isn't that magnificent? Definitely looking for something, and it's not the girls. I wonder if possibly there's that very small pride of lions called the Shimungwe pride that is originally from very far south and west of us, that has been chased by the Majinga lions, and a lot of the members have been killed, and they sort of just arrived up here in the north. Oh, there we go. Boys on the move. So he just passed probably a meter from Bryan, the back of the vehicle there. But now I'm wondering if possibly that second lioness isn't coming into estrus or false estrus. There we can see the lioness on the road. But it is they're definitely looking for something. They're on a mission. So I'll try and get up ahead of them as soon as I get the chance. Texan or Aubrey coming? Tex, did you copy my updates about Ngala? I've got 2 Styx and 2 Matimbas, Gary Main heading east towards Cheetah Cut Line.
We'll just double check that. Maybe that might just gone west instead of coming east. I don't know.
So there we go. That's really, really nice behavior. He smelt where the other coalition member has urinated, and he's what it's called a phlegm reaction, and basically at the top of that lion's mouth, and even at the top of our mouths, there's that small hole that you can feel. It's called a Jacobson's organ. And what they're doing there is he draws the scent over that organ, and that will give him a whole bunch of information. And you'll see lots of animals do it, dogs, cats, horses, and lions, obviously. And there he is licking the other coalition member's urine. And that grimace is basically the phlegm reaction, and that is taking the urine over the Jacobson's organ. So I can't see where the 2 lionesses went, but they are up ahead of the front male. So I'm going to try find a spot where I can zoot up ahead of them. But I don't think these are the same lion tracks I was following earlier. There were more lions in that pride. There were about 4 in the judging for those tracks. Oh, sorry. But there weren't any big male tracks there. Where there's obviously these 2 will leave monster-sized tracks about the size of my hand. So I'm just going to try and get up ahead quickly. All right. Looks like they are crossing north. So that means that 2 lionesses have crossed north. The male up ahead of us has just crossed north into our side. From Wisconsin, welcome on the Sunset Safari, and Sunrise Safari, sorry, and we're basically with these, at the moment, with 2 male lions that are walking up our southern boundary.
In that direction, I think.
And then we'd like to know what are the ages? Can we tell the ages of these male lions? Liz, can we tell the ages of these male lions? We're just going to keep quite still now. He might walk very, very close to the vehicle. And if we look at him carefully now, you can see he's definitely a nice, large adult male.
Yeah, he goes in the way. He missed it.
So I'm just going going to move again. As far as I know, these two males are around 12 years old, and that's because there's a lot of information on the lions in the Sabi Sands, and they are followed quite extensively. But if we didn't have all that information, I would probably just, and we'll chat about that now when we can have a look at one of their faces. Just by looking at them, I would have guessed them to be around 10. They are sort of big male lions, and they are a bit older. And you can see that with their manes and the scars and stuff on their faces. And they are probably coming towards the end of their reign. So male lion coalitions are normally dominant for about 4 years, 4 to 5 years, depending on the size. And the reason for this is to keep genetic diversity. So they sort of get pushed out at around 3.5 years old from their natal prides. And then they'll wander around quite frequently. And they'll meander between the different pride territories, trying to avoid big coalition males like this. And that's where coalitions are quite often formed. While these young males are wandering around trying to avoid these big boys, they will meet up, and sometimes it can take a couple of days or even a couple of weeks before unrelated male lions are comfortable with each other. And that is how the coalition is formed. So I can see the two lionesses up ahead of us, and these guys are definitely going to follow them. So I'm going to try and get up ahead to where the girls are. And so back to the male lion coalitions. So these sorry, he was just cleaning his nails and scratching that terminalia. I'm going to carry on to jump ahead of them to get to where the ladies are. So these male lion coalitions are dominant for about 4 to 5 years, depending, and that's sort of 2 cycles of cubs. And sometimes they will start breeding with their daughters, and that's the reason that they are ousted after 4 to 5 years at the top by new coalitions, new blood, and that helps with the genetic diversity in lions. Even though lions do inbreed, and it doesn't have as much effect as it would say in humans. There we've got some. They found some hippo dung, which lions quite often like to roll in. There's a lot of speculation about why. Personally, I think they just like it. I don't think it has any sort of special reason that they're trying to mask their scent while hunting or anything like that. I think they just like the smell. So having a look here, this definitely looks like the 2 Styx lionesses. I'm trying to see, we can see the one standing up at the moment. She is lactating, you can see that quite clearly on her nipples there. So it'll be quite nice when she decides to start moving the cubs, and hopefully she brings them up this side. I just need to check the radio quickly. Hi, Steph, and welcome on the Sunrise Safari. Steph's quite interested to know why, where are the cubs, why aren't they looking for the cubs? Well, Steph, what happens with a lioness with cubs is she will hide them away once she's away hunting, either in a drainage line or a thicket, or in a rocky outcrop. As far as I know, she has been keeping them in the Mawati in a small dry drainage line with quite a lot of thickets on it, and she will sometimes leave them for 2 or 3 days before returning for them to feed, and she might introduce the cubs a bit earlier because there's only her and another lioness in the pride. There's only 2 of them, but normally they will keep the cubs away for the first couple of months before introducing them into the pride. Can you hear the Franklin are very upset about having lions around them again? Can't see where the other lioness has disappeared off to, but the other male is just behind us. Move the vehicle slightly so we can see both. Oh, he's going to walk in. How kind of him. Incredibly powerful animals. Now you can see even in these 2 males who are probably around the same age, you have a difference in the manes. You can see this guy's got a much hairier mane. He's even got some belly hair going on there, and elbow patch hair. So he's got a lot bigger and a darker mane than the other. And that's just variation. Like some people have dark hair, some people are hairy, some people are not. So the same thing happens even in lions. From coming?
Yeah, I'm working telephone.
If confirm you are interested in this Ngala sighting off Cheetah Cutline.
No, I need to go on the side. I think they want to try to put some Ngala, the section and Aubrey and Baruso.
Copy F. I don't know if you copied that update. I've got 2 Matimbas and 2 Styx at that Oldham Nisikaya off Cheetah Cutline.
Oh, well done, but yeah. Close by our Tina.
Copy. So you just hear me on the radio there chatting to Ephraim, letting him know it's very important for us to have good communications with the other game drive vehicles because we all help each other to find animals. And you can see they're really enjoying that hippo dung. Yeah, I'm going to zoot around because I know there's another link into this old hyena den site here, so we can jump up the front of them. So hold on for a second, I'm going to go a little bit faster just so we can get there. So those of you who might have joined us late this morning, we've been tracking lion and leopard, and they've all been disappearing off our property, and we were heading now down to check our eastern boundary, and it was getting a bit cold as we went through the dip, and I wasn't concentrating. I was fiddling around trying to put my mitten on, and Bryan was like, lion next to us, and so we found the 2 Matimba males and 2 Styx lionesses. So very exciting. Was mating with Kwatile, and they were hanging around Twin Dams for a couple of days. here's the other little link. It's nice to have active cats rather than flat cats. Spot the net. I think it should be popping up around here. There we go. Wonderful when a plan comes together. And where the girls are, the boys must follow. Oh, full of the joy of life this morning. Just jumping around and playing. It was very strange little behavior she did there. She looked at us, then she jumped up and around and then stopped and looked at us again. You can see it wasn't us who scared her, she just got the joy of the morning in her. Where are the other lionesses? I think she's still behind. Very, very still morning. Even very few bird calls. Starting to warm up now. Hi Rena, welcome on the Sunrise Safari. Rena just wants to confirm she has 3 cubs. Rena, that is what I've heard from some of the other guides who have actually seen the cubs. I haven't seen them as yet. She's keeping them to the south of our Traverse area in the Mulwati drainage line. That is the last report I had. Apparently they're all still doing well, and that's the last report, that all 3 cubs were still alive the last time they were seen. Morning Angie, welcome on the Sunrise Safari. Angie would like to know, would the 2 Matimba males have been introduced to the cubs yet? Well Angie, I'm not 100% sure. As I said, we don't see these lions enough, but it is possible, but I think she probably will try to keep them away from the Matimbas till they're a little bit older. Male lions can do some very strange things, and quite often I've actually seen them eat their own cubs before. So I think they will keep them away till they're a bit older. So possibly not just yet. Well, it looks like the boys have slowed down a bit. So I'm going to try a loop around to go see where the other 3 are. And Madam's on the road, so we're not going to go there and disturb her. We'll have to go around. There we go. now. How far? How's that? Nice. Let's just try and move. I think he's going to get up and walk shortly, so I'm actually just going to wait here because the two females are just up ahead. And he's watching them quite intently. Morning, Gilly. Welcome on the Sunrise Safari. Gilly would like to know, are male lions' front feet larger than their back feet? They are, Gilly. They are slightly larger, and obviously that's the front feet are used in hunting and in fighting, so they are slightly larger. Just give me a second, guys. I'm going to have to chat with the Game Drive channel. I know there's a few vehicles making their way here. Ephraim, do you copy? Sorry, I just heard Orbs was he looking for a lineup for this position?
Yeah,
the lineup for this position is myself here, you making your way, space for one.
yeah, I think
So you can see there's the jumping lioness, and then you can see the male, and just to the right of the male where he is heading right now, behind that thorn bush there, you can see the tail flick is the second lioness. And there is a male somewhere still behind us, but he's not on his way just yet. Doing what lions do best now after their huge hive of activity walking up and down the road. They have all decided to lie down. Incredibly lazy, well, not lazy animals, just the way they're designed. They have to sleep for they sleep for about 20 out of 24 hours. I can hear a lion coming right next to us. I just hear the footsteps in the grass. Hello. Actually been in an unfortunate spot once, sitting like this, waiting for a male lion to pass us, and where we happened to stop was one of his favorite scent marking trees, and we got a blast of lion scent mark on us in the vehicle. It is quite interesting. As the second male walked up, the first male, who's lying with the lioness, started growling at him. So I think it is possible that lioness is coming into estrus. He's moved now quite far away from where those two are sitting, and he's going to lie down in the shade there. So I think definitely there's a bit of power play going on between the two males. I haven't seen them ever feeding or mating, so I'm not 100% sure who is the most dominant of the two. General consensus is that with recent studies that the lion with the darker male is normally more dominant, and the blonder males are not, because the darker male indicates more testosterone in the tests that have been done. So, but now looking at this, it seems like the lighter of the two mains is the one growling and staying next to the female. But that could also possibly be that she's not quite an estrus yet, because there doesn't look like any mating activity. But it could be interesting when she comes into full estrus, whether the darker of the two males then becomes dominant and will fight and be more aggressive in maintaining that dominance. And for the moment, while it's not too much of a problem, because she isn't actually an estrus yet, he doesn't really mind. And I have seen that before, that in lions. I'm just going to sneak past you here, mister. No, tired kitty. Let's go have a look at the other two that are lying next to each other. No problem. Morning, guys. How you doing?
Only two.
The other Mafazi is lying over there, and the other Madonna is there.
Oh, the one day. It was nice. Ada Mafazi, no Mantuana.
So while the lions are lying up and not doing much, we're going to cross back across to James, see what he's been up to, and then we'll be back with you a little later in the drive. So enjoy your time with James.
Welcome back to Wendy, everyone. I hope you've been enjoying the lions with Brent. He's had some great luck this morning, and probably quite a lot of skill involved too. I'm playing chimpanzee at the moment. My hands are a bit cold, and there's a lot of heat coming up off this termite mound. It's quite incredible. The termites have maintained a completely stable environment in their mound, and this is the newest sort of part of the castle. And inside it, I can see it's wet. I can see one or two angry termites in there where I've disturbed them, and I'm going to see if I can pull one out and show it to you. There we go. Put it over here so that Andrew can focus on him. Oh, there he goes. We don't want him to disappear. Now this is a soldier termite. You can see it's got very large, or quite large mouth parts, but there are much bigger soldier termites in there with much bigger heads. The other termites are the workers, of course, and they're the ones that build. He looks like he's having a bit of a rough time. We'll put him back just now. The workers build those huge mounds. There are also two different kinds of workers. And it's this guy's job to defend the termite mound from people like me, or animals like me, that might otherwise disturb him. He will make a nasty hole in my hand if I am not quite careful. There we go. Anyway, so I mean there are millions and millions of termites in that huge mound. There we go. Millions of them in that mound, defending it from all manner of predators. The major predators for a termite mound like that, of course, are ants. I'm just going to put this fellow back. He's not very happy. And you can see, I'm not sure if you can see from there, but there's quite a lot of sort of bird dung over here, and that's from hornbills. Hornbills love to come and sit on these termite mounds in the early mornings when they can feel the heat coming off it. They can, after a chilly night, and they can stick their beaks in and pull out breakfast at will. This is a fungus-growing termite, or Macrotermes natalensis, and underneath here you will find enormous gardens of fungus where the termites will grow, cultivate fungus that they eat, and the fungus helps them to digest the lignin and cellulose in the wood and sort of dry grass that they choose as their food. But I wish you could come and feel the amazing heat coming off this termite mound and see the moisture. This termite, the tunnels of the termite mound will go right down to the water table, and so they're never short of water despite the dry season. It's also a wonderful earthy smell that comes off it. Right, in the meantime we'll carry on. We have been following some leopard tracks, and we'll see what we can see in that front. But the heat is starting to build, which is nice, and off we go. Of course, the other primate that likes to pull termites out of a mound like that, in exactly the manner that you saw me do it, are chimpanzees. And it was one of the first. We used to think that human beings were the only primates or animals capable of using tools, and that was one of the first documented cases of other animals or other primates using tools. So you can find chimpanzees in Central Africa pulling the termites out on long sticks of grass and then eating them off and sort of dipping their sticks back into the termite mound. People in Africa do eat termites as well. They taste a little bit like peanut butter. Probably a little bit more spiky depending on how you prepare them. So it's often been a question that people have asked of me as to, could you survive out here in the wild if somebody just dropped you off? And the answer is that without hunting it would be very difficult, because there aren't a huge number of edible tubers or fruits, especially at this time of year. But with things like termite mounds, you could certainly survive for a few weeks and certainly get enough protein if you could get at the termites and if you weren't too squeamish. Of course, further north of here you have the Mapani worm, which is people who are not from Africa tend to talk of it as an African delicacy. It's a caterpillar that people dry and eat throughout the year. Delicacy is quite a strong word for it. It tastes a little bit like gamey sawdust. But when fried up with enough garlic and salt, you don't really notice the taste. Very important source of protein, though, for a lot of rural people between here and northern Zambia. And before I put you all off your next meal, we're going to cross back to Brent, where the lions are on the move.
welcome back, everyone. We're back with the lions. The one lioness has got up and started to move. She looks to be the one that is lactating. So the other three are still lying behind us. So I just thought we'd try and follow her, see where she goes. She might cross back across the boundary. She might be heading back to feed the cubs. Oh, or she's going to lie in the same pile of hippo dung that they were in earlier. She really likes that pile of hippo dung. So hopefully she's going to start rolling. But there we go. Oh, hippo dung. So nice. Oh, and the other lioness is with us here now as well. So I'm sure the boys will be following shortly. Hi, Cindy from Sacramento. Welcome on the Sunrise Safari. Cindy would like to know whether they look pregnant or about to give birth. Well, Cindy, this one lying in front of us here is actually given birth probably about a month and a half ago now, maybe even as long as 2 months. She had 3 cubs that are being stashed in a drainage line to the south of us. But the other lioness at the moment, I did hear, I think she was mating, or is about, sorry, not was mating, is about to start mating. That's why these 2 males are following them around so actively. So we're going to stay with the girls right now, because if she is coming into estrus, wherever the girls go, the boys will follow. Hi, Thelma from Michigan. Welcome on Sunrise Safari. Thelma is a bit worried about the cubs. She's saying that why isn't the mother with the cubs? Doesn't look like she's hunting right now. How long will she leave the cubs for? Well, Thelma, lions have been known to leave cubs for up to a week sometimes, but it's normally about 2 to 3 days at the most. And they are heading towards our boundary. Sorry, I'm just trying to get a gap through here. So that is normal lion behavior. They will leave cubs for up to a week, but it's normally 2 to 3 days. So don't worry, Thelma, that is normal lion behavior to leave the cubs by themselves. I just want to get up ahead. This is our southern boundary coming up, so there's a very strong possibility they're going to cross. And she is keeping the cubs to the south of us here.
Yeah, hopefully he's there now. I'm just very close to you guys. I was trying to call you. Who is there with you? WildEarth?
And there she goes across the boundary. Just hang on, guys. I need to just call on the radio quickly.
Yeah, you can wait only from the south.
From the south.
We just need to get a chance to chat on the radio quickly.
I saw the jungle picture and they said I'm moving.
Where's the second lioness now? She was around. I think she's up now. Here she comes. So they probably are heading back towards where the cubs are.
Still a little bit.
Yeah, I will go on with it. Some other. You remember what it is?
Stations, the two more fuzzies have already crossed. The one's crossing now, the other one's already crossed. And I can see the Madoda, one of the Madodas now making his way towards where we are.
Copy? Yeah, okay, first, just go very main. The better way.
So the male's going to cross just down to our left. There we go. He's looking for the girls, and you just see him staring up. Where'd they go? Where'd they go? I lost the girls. Hi, morning, Georgina from Illinois. Georgina would like to know, how tall is the biggest male at the shoulder? Well, Georgina, the male's probably about 1.2 to 1.3 meters at the shoulder. Sorry guys, there's a bit of a rush of vehicles in here to come try see these lines before they cross our boundary. Morning, Tex. So just trying. He's lost sight of the girl, so he's actually moving back into our area, but I'm sure he'll pick up their scent shortly. But we're just going to stand by here on the edge, let the other guys get a chance to see them. We've spent quite a bit of time with them. We will go back to them. Let's just try to see where those, if we can still see any of the lionesses behind us. We're just going to let these other vehicles get a chance to have a look at them. Have a quick look down the road here, see if we can see. There we go. Got a nice long distance visual of a lioness disappearing in golden light. So the drainage line where she has been supposed to be keeping those cubs is almost directly in that area. So it is likely that she is heading back towards them. And with a small pride like they are, with only two females, it is likely that the other female has already met the cubs. Let's see, we might get another nice view. Another gap through the trees. That has actually got a stunning shot. Disappearing lion. The other lioness is actually, when she disappears, she's a bit closer to us, hiding behind the gory bush. There, she disappears there. I think if we go backwards a little bit, we'll get a nice view of her. Maybe not. She's just really utilizing those quarry bushes. Get it. The lovely Styx ladies. Well, isn't this been great? If anyone's just tuned in or who hasn't been following for a little bit, this morning we did a lot of tracking of leopard and lion, and we went up and down the same place trying to figure out what was going on. And unfortunately the tracks we were following earlier all crossed out of our traverse area. And then we went through a cold dip in the Mawati drainage, and my hands started getting cold, so I started putting my gloves back on. And then I just heard Bryan behind me go, "Lion!" And we came across the 2 Matimba males and the 2 Styx lionesses, and we've been following them now for most of the morning. They've been zigzagging on and off our southern boundary, and now the 2 lionesses have crossed back, and they're probably heading back. The one does have cubs hidden somewhere in the drainage line, and I think the other's about to come into estrus, and that's why these males are following them so actively. The males got a bit confused and left behind, so they're trying to figure out which way the girls went. We'll keep a lookout. At the moment, we're just standing by on the edge of the sighting. We've had wonderful sighting. We've been with them a long time. So I'm just letting the other game drive vehicles all get through there and have a look, because it is right on our boundary, and if they cross, the game drive vehicles can't follow. So we're just giving everyone a chance. It's very important to do that. We all work as a team to find animals, not only us, James and I, on the vehicles, but all the other guides that operate here. We're all very important team members in helping all of us find animals. So we don't want them to miss out on seeing lions, so we will go back a little bit later, but we'll just give everyone else a chance for a second. Hi Bugsy, welcome on the Sunrise Safari. Bugsy would like to know, is it possible that these males will follow the females to the cubs? Then what's going to happen if they find the cubs? Well, Bugsy, the lionesses will probably try their best to lose them before getting to the cubs. But if they did, it's very difficult to say. I think most likely there wouldn't be an issue. They are more than likely the fathers of those cubs. So most likely there wouldn't be an issue, but there is a possibility that they might kill them and eat them, which lions just do sometimes. Sorry guys, I just have to chat to a vehicle here. How's it, buddy? Nice to see you. Hello everyone. So as you can see, quite busy, lots of people in and out. I'm just going to move my vehicle because I'm causing a traffic jam in the middle of the road here. It looks like the males have come to us. We haven't moved. And they've crossed the road. One of them has at least. And I'm sure the other will be following suit quite shortly. Move, so Bryan can have a show you now. He's definitely on the track of those females. So we're going to move around. The other male's probably sleeping. He doesn't seem as interested in actively following those girls as this male. So he's disappearing now, and we're going to have to do the same as we were doing now, just watching through the gaps in the quarries. This is getting quite nice and warm, so maybe that's the female's trick. They start moving when it's warm, and the males get lazy and they manage to get away, but I'm pretty sure that other male's still sleeping behind somewhere, but He'll probably jump up shortly. So I'm just listening to the radio for a second. Warming up nicely, losing a few layers. We're just waiting to see what happens where that male moves to. But the way the males are behaving, it's quite probable that one of those females is going to go into estrus quite shortly. And there he is, he's popped up again. But I think that's probably one of the last views we're going to get of him. We can just see his tail. There we go, he pops out other than the long grass. So these lines have crossed over our boundary. He's busy sniffing around trying to find the ladies who have managed to evade him, and they've gone straight south. And there we go, he's going to disappear into some thick bush shortly. All right, turning around. So there we go. He's now, it looks like he's found the right trail to where those ladies disappeared. So we're going to cross across to James, see what he's been up to. I'm going to stand by in this area in case they change direction again. But I think they're pretty much headed off now down to the south of us. But that was really exciting, really glad we actually got to find them. And so we're going to cross over to James for a bit, and we'll see you a bit later in drive.
Welcome back to Wendy, everyone. I hope you've had a great time with Brent and the lions. Sounds like a fantastic sighting to have had. Andrew and I have been wandering around the reserve, exploring, and it's been while there hasn't been a huge amount of big game, we have a sensory overload. You saw the termites we had. The smell of the bush this morning is spectacular, and just the feel of picking the leaves and listening to the sounds has been exceptional. One of the best sounds we've heard today has been that of something called a bearded woodpecker, which is more probably along the lines of the woodpeckers you get up in North America. He's about that big, and he makes it sound in the morning. He taps on an empty, normally a hollow leadwood log. He'll go and sit on a hollow leadwood tree and he'll tap, da, 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 da. And that's his territorial tap. And so he's not looking for food when he does that. He's trying to tell all the other woodpeckers in the area, stay out. And we've just seen one with a beautiful red head, and he was feeding on the bottom of an acacia tree. Unfortunately, there wasn't any signal at the time, so we couldn't show it to you. So we're going to continue on our way. The leopard tracks that we were following disappeared, I'm afraid, west onto the next door property. So we've come back east, and we're going to continue looking for whatever we can find. At the moment, we're not on any specific tracks, but there's no doubt there'll be something fascinating to look at soon. Question from Maggie in Kansas. Maggie, nice to have you with us, and thank you for your question. Maggie wants to know Other than protecting the queen and housing her and feeding her, what role do termites play in the bush? Well, Maggie, without termites, the bush would be a very different place indeed. They reckon that the termite biomass, so the number of termites and their total mass, is more than that of all the major herbivores. So you can imagine if they weren't around to clean up the dead wood and the dead grass and to process it through their guts and fertilize the soil with their droppings, the nutrient content of the soil would be far less. There'd be a huge amount of dead wood all over the place, and that's quite apart from the food source that they provide to people, birds, and various other animals that like to eat them. So they play a hugely important role. And the termites that we see in the big mounds are called the fungus-growing termites, but they're just one of hundreds of termite species, most of which don't build mounds, and so they operate sort of under the radar. So in very short, Maggie, termites are probably one of the most important parts of any reserve's ecology. Got a question from Andre in Florida, who hasn't seen me before, and Andre, I haven't seen you before either, so welcome. It's very good to have you with us. You'd like a little background on me. Well, I was born in South Africa, in Johannesburg, and I spent most of my life there until I left home, and then I went and did a degree in wildlife science. And after that, I came to the bush, where I've worked as a guide and as a guide trainer for the last 10 or so years. And I started here about 3 days ago. I have worked quite extensively in other parts of the Sabi Sands, and then at a place called Ngala, just north of here, which is about 15,000 hectares of the Greater Kruger National Park. I hope that answers your question, Andre. Go back here. Here. On this tree here, you can see the bark of the tree has been scuffed and taken away. And that, we spent quite a lot of time with some buffalo last night. And they, if you look at the top of their heads, the keratin on the boss is often red in color. And it's got sort of marks of red and is gouged out with red patches, and that often comes from the tannins in the bark of these acacia trees. This particular acacia tree, I don't know if anybody wants to hazard a guess at what it is, but it's quite a favorite of theirs because it leaves the mark, and this is sort of how they will often come and bash a tree like this, to either scratch the horns or to show a bit of dominance. It's unusually not really a territorial display like it would be in, say, impala, because buffalo aren't generally territorial. But it's just a nice link to those buffalo we saw last night with the red divots, if you like, and scratches on the top of their horns. This is where they get that redness from. It's the tannin in the acacia tree and in the bark. This tree won't be harmed by this because it's still got vascular tissue going up to the leaves and then back down from them. Anyone want to hazard a guess at which acacia it is? Maybe we can get a proper picture of some of the leaves, Andrew, if you don't mind. So your clue is that it is an acacia, and one of the words in the English name is a primate. One of the words in the English name is a primate. Nasty hooked thorns that only something like a giraffe would be able to deal with. Giraffe's tongue. I mean, imagine wrapping your tongue around one of those thorns. Wouldn't be speaking for some time. Right, on we go. Have a comment from Georgianne in Illinois. Every morning before we go out, and indeed every afternoon, we do a sound check on the microphones so that we can make sure that when we find little gems in this glorious wilderness, we can tell you about them and you'll be able to hear us. So this morning I was singing into my microphone, not realizing that at the dam we were, there is a microphone. Georgianne managed to hear that, poor woman. Very rude sort of awakening. She says that I have a pleasant voice. Thank you, Georgianne. It's very kind of you. I want to have a look at this tree here, if you don't mind, Andrew. Another acacia tree, which the name of which you can guess from the redness. I don't know if you can see that redness there. Yeah, of that broken piece. This is Acacia girardii, or the red thorn. And we spoke about the termites and how much wood they eat. Elephants are obviously the keystone herbivore in the area. They're the ones that do the most damage. And this tree has been broken at least 3 or 4 times by elephants coming past, pulling it down, eating the leaves, and it survives. They're remarkably resilient, most of the trees around here, to the ravages of elephants, because that's how they've evolved together. If they hadn't evolved that ability, they just wouldn't survive. But just to give you an idea, elephants will certainly change the structure of a vegetation type, so they'll knock down some of the bigger trees, but they don't have anything like the impact in terms of biomass consumption that the termites do. The termites even eat the elephant dung. Particularly like the acacias, this is the elephants, because they tend to have a fairly rich tree gum, which is very nutritious. Starting to get a bit warmer now. It's always amazing in winter how long it takes the sun to actually heat us up. Andrew was wrapped up a bit like a Michelin man this morning, and he's just managed to take his gloves off. And the sun comes up and only starts to sort of warm the area around 8 o'clock. And I think it must be plus minus around that time now. I'm not really sure. It's really nice not to have to know in these parts. We've got nowhere to go in a hurry, unless there's a leopard to watch or some wild dogs to chase on the hunt. Yet again, I'm astonished by the knowledge that some of our viewers have. Janet in Baltimore has almost correctly identified that first acacia. It is called a black monkey thorn, Acacia burkii. Well done, Janet. David in Chicago, welcome to this glorious African morning. You'd like to know what kind of berries and tubers and vegetables we have growing here in the night. There's not much in the way of fruit. The most abundant fruit we get here is in February or January, and that's the marula fruit. And the marula is grows on, you can normally always see a marula tree, just when I'm looking for one we can't. The tall tree there on top of the crest, we'll get to it now. And these, like this one here, just above us. I'm just going to stop here. I mean, it's not a particularly impressive version of the marula tree, but the marula fruit comes in great abundance in February time, and people certainly still in the rural areas have a celebration around that time of the year. And those are the major fruits that we get here. Then some of the other bushes, like the white berry bush, there's actually one just over there. That's a sort of scraggly thing. That's it there, Andrew, in the middle of the picture. That's Flugia verosa. If you just, not the one on the right, the sort of scraggly bushy on the ground, that's it there. Flugia verosa is called a white berry bush, and that makes some nice white fruits. Normally around, probably
winter time. When we sing,
the guarri bush, of course, which makes those very sort of deep red berries. Not a particularly great source of nutrition, but not bad. And then the only other one I can think of that produces a substantial amount of fruit is something called a sour plum, and they're a bit like the opposite of a sour worm. I'm not sure if you've ever eaten one of those sour worms or sour sweets that you eat, and they're terribly tart to start with, and then they go sweet. The sour plum does precisely the opposite. You eat the sour plum and it's very sweet, and then suddenly it hits you with a sort of lemony taste. And those are the major fruits. Then in terms of vegetables, not a huge amount. I mean, we do get tubers, but not many that are edible. Certainly in the Kalahari, there is something called a tsama melon, which the sand bushman people have learned to cope with, but it's really pretty disgusting. So as I said earlier, unless you're able to hunt out here, it would be very difficult to survive. See a few more marula trees here. They're normally the tall ones that you can see on the crests. And it's only the females that produce fruit, which is quite interesting. Just had a question from Yvonne in New Jersey. who would like to know if I am the James who wrote the books. I'm sure there are many Jameses that have written books before. I am one of them, and if you'd like to have a look at them, you can find them on the British Amazon site. The first one is Whatever You Do, Don't Run, which is a collection of non-fiction stories about rangers and guides. And the second one is one called A Year in the Wild, which is a comedy book about living in a 5-star game lodge. And the third one is a follow-up to A Year in the Wild. It's called Back to the Bush, Another Year in the Wild. And the two stories focus on two brothers who live in an environment exactly like the one you can see around you, but in a 5-star game lodge. And it's all about the wonder of the wilderness and all the shenanigans that go on in the background at any sort of lodge or hotel environment. So best you all rush out and buy them, so that I may buy some peanut butter to eat next month. I don't wish to be reduced to eating termites. Try and get a view over this clearing here on my left. And you see if you can pick up wide of the termite mounds. When we know this area has been slightly artificially cleared, so that's why it's more open. But the advantage of it is you can see how many termite mounds there are. Normally, if the vegetation is at its sort of natural height, you don't see the termite mounds or the number of them because they're covered in vegetation. But here you can see, I mean, there are at least 30 from where I'm sitting. You probably can't see that many where you are, but in a tiny space of tiny area. And that's just the macrotermes, the ones that grow, that live above the ground in the mounds. And then there'll be odontotermes and hodontotermes who live in the trees, who make their mobile burrows, if you like. And these termite mounds will go a long way under the ground. So what you can see of them here is a very small proportion of their actual size. So you can imagine how many millions of termites there are scurrying about just in the picture that you can see. Beautiful little bird there called a chin spot batis. Two of them. I don't think we're going to be able to get a camera on them for long enough. No. Well, I don't know, we might. Andrew, can you see him in there?
I don't know if I have the chin spot batis, but I have some bird.
There. You've got, there's the batis went down to the right. You've got a southern black tit there. They're often an indicator of a bird party, so they're quite often there. It's quite a nice sighting of the southern black tit. They're often an indicator of a sort of bird party, which is a group of different species of birds that are feeding in the same area. That's a really nice sighting of one of those birds. The southern black tit. Elephants. Have you seen them? Okay, we've got some elephants. We're just going to move in there. Oh, there we go. That's fantastic. All right. Let's go and have a look at the elephants. My first mammal for the day. It's quite exciting. Just going to approach nice and slowly so that we don't disturb them too much. I'm saying them, I've only seen one, but the size of the one that I've seen would indicate that there are probably others. I have at least two there. Another one up front there, 2 or 3 off to that side, and some others over there. So this is quite a large herd that's spread out. Focus on this little group here in front of us. He's just a little bit nervous of us. That's why he turned like that. But now he's gaining some more confidence. Going to move a little bit forward to try and get around the front so we can get a view of the face, tusks. Find with elephants is that after a while they will start to develop a sense of confidence and comfort with a vehicle or with a specific person even. I know some people who for some reason make elephants feel uncomfortable. They don't know why, and some just have a rapport with them like Mark used to. Often people watch elephants feeding and think that they're just indiscriminately picking any piece of vegetation they can find. But they're actually normally being very selective about what they take, using an amazing prehensile tip to the trunk. Flapping of the ears is often mistaken as a sign of irritation or of anger. And yes, elephants do hold their ears out when they're angry, but that flapping is often when the heat starts to build. There is an incredible network of veins and arteries in the ear, and when they flap their ears like that, they cool the blood. And that blood normally goes directly to the brain, which is obviously the most important organ to keep cool. So they flap and cool the blood, and off it goes to the brain. absolutely incredible how an animal that size can move with such incredible silence. Going to wait here and see if he doesn't come out into the open. That little piece of tree that he ate is something called tripocarpum, or the caterpillar bush. And it's interesting, they're pretty big trees outside of game reserves, but here, as you can see, they're quite a delicacy for the elephant, and they don't often get much more than 2 or 3 feet off the ground. He's picking sedges, which contain a bit more moisture than the grass does. He's scratching his ear. Question from Anna Marie. Thank you for your question, Anna Marie. I'm not sure I know the answer entirely. You've asked how many chambers does an elephant's heart have. I'm guessing that it has, like most mammalian hearts, probably only has 4 chambers, but I'm not sure. We'll try and have a look and see if we can find out for you. I'm just going to move forward a bit. Obviously each going to stick with this bull because he's a young bull, and they often quite like to interact with the vehicle, either just through looking at us or coming a little bit closer and seeing what we want. The cows generally tend to either treat us with disdain or leave, but these young bulls and the young cows are much more sort of confiding. They're much more curious. He's picking little acacia seedlings now off the ground. Marianne, we've just confirmed, this is the wonder of technology, that the elephant does indeed have 4 chambers hearts. I think probably most mammals do. He's eating seedlings of something called Peltophorum africanum, or the weeping wattle. I think that's a young leadwood that just disappeared down his throat. It's incredible how dexterous his trunk is and his foot, and how I'm sure he can hardly see what he's doing. He's doing it largely by feel. This is probably a 12 to 15-year-old elephant. Now, I'm sure you wouldn't have heard this picked up, but just in front of this young bull are some others. I think the matriarch is probably amongst them, and she made a low rumbling noise, and they make sounds like that which are often too low for us to even hear. And suddenly all of those elephants in that group went quiet, and they looked up and looked at us.
This one only has one tusk.
The elephant coming out of the bush there, Andrew's just pointed out, has only one tusk, which is not always that unusual. Sometimes elephants are a bit like us, right or left-handed. Elephants can be right or left-tusked, and so if they use the tusk for too long or too much, they can snap one of them off, which must be extremely painful. I have a question from Gilly in Wisconsin. Welcome to our beautiful elephant sighting, Gilly. I'm not reading it that clearly, but I think what you're asking is about either the texture of the skin, if I'm not mistaken, or the texture of the foot. I'll just look at them interacting there. Right. Okay, so it is indeed the foot. It's the foot that you wanted to know about, Gilly. The foot is, if you've I have felt the foot of a dead elephant before. They feel a lot softer than you think they would, but underneath them is a very hard callus of skin, much like you would develop if you walked around without shoes on. And they have a callus that will take thorns, and the thorns will slough out of them, and I think that skin is replaced quite a lot, but they certainly don't feel hard to the touch. They feel quite soft, and that's evidenced by how softly they're able to walk. But there is a pad of callus on the bottom that stops injuries occurring. I'm just going to shift forward slightly. These are two young bulls. I said the one was probably 12 to 15. The other one's probably between 10 and 12, the little one. And you see how the little bulls, just like little boys or teenage boys, will try and spend a bit of time away from the herd and the family. I'm going to move on now to the rest of the family, or the rest of the herd, as they come out of the bush. And they're here, they're younger animals, and probably the adult cows. Two of them playing with each other, just like human kids might. David in Chicago, welcome to the sighting. You'd like to know, what are the tusks used for other than defense? Look at those two. The tusks are used for defense for some elephants, but they're actually largely a tool for scraping bark off trees, and they use them to dig in the sand sometimes. That is a dominance display we're seeing there. Those elephants are far too young to be mating. That's quite interesting to see. They're likely to get a hiding from their parents. They're not very careful. So the tusks are used for feeding, for digging. Yes, they will be used for defense, but it's mainly to source food. So if you've ever seen a marula tree that's been hammered by elephants, they use the tusks to peel off the bark, or to certainly start the bark peeling process. Now you can see quite nicely behind you can see the two youngsters there, and one of them is clearly a little bit smaller than the other and is streaming from the gland behind its eyes, whereas the bigger one is not. And that is a sign of stress. It can be a sign of heat stress, it can be a sign of emotional stress. I mean, in this case, I suspect it's some form of emotional stress from the bullying she's receiving. Big cow behind us. Oh, and she's had half her trunk removed. Look at that. That's not very nice to see. Shame. She's had a piece of her trunk removed somehow. She may have got it caught in a snare at some stage of her life. I'm just going to stop speaking while these elephants come past, because they often react to our voices, and it's really nice when they don't. Oh, that's spectacular. They're just listening for what their mother says. They're waiting for her to rumble at them. There, did you hear that? I'm not sure if you heard that. classic elephant pose of the tail out, meaning leave me alone. Katrina wants to know, hi Katrina, and welcome to this beautiful elephant sighting. You'd like to know if elephants are ever born without tusks. Yes, well, all elephants are born without tusks, much like we're born without our teeth. But some elephants, very few, but some don't ever develop tusks, especially cows. It's not usual, but it does happen. And in the Indian elephant, of course, the cows don't have tusks at all. Only the bulls have them. Now let's just focus on this elephant here to the right. She's lost, say, the bottom 20% of her trunk. So that prehensile tip is no longer there. I'm not sure how she would have lost it, but I've just been watching her feed, and she's still. It's obviously less efficient than before, but rather like somebody who's lost a limb, she's compensated and manages to use what she has left to grab the vegetation she wants to eat. Just had some information from our regular viewers that this elephant has been seen quite regularly, but in the past. So she's obviously been around for a while and is surviving quite well. Just let me go back here. Claire in Johannesburg, my old hometown. Welcome. I'm sure you're very jealous of me sitting where I am compared with where you are. I think you were asking, are elephants the only other mammals with a chin? I haven't heard that before. But let's go and find those young bulls again. They're in here somewhere, and we'll see if we can have a look. The elephant jawbone is certainly not substantially different from any other herbivore's jawbone in terms of its overall structure. So I'm not really sure that I could say the elephant has a chin any more than say, a giraffe does. But I'd be fascinated to know where that information came from. And if I'm perhaps not defining a chin correctly. So, Claire, the thing to do here will be to wait until he lifts his mouth. There you can see. Yeah, now look, unless I'm mistaking the definition of a chin, I would say that an elephant doesn't have a substantially different chin from most of the other mammals. The jawbone is definitely the same sort of shape. In fact, the jawbone is almost the same shape as ours. I'm not sure if you can hear that, but I can hear them talking to each other. Just low grumbles. used to think those grumbles came from the stomach, but they don't. They do come from the larynx. The larynx is obviously just much bigger than ours, and the bigger your larynx is, the deeper the sound you can make. Still selecting for those seedlings of peltophorum and acacia and the odd ormacarpum. Hello, fella. Isn't that stunning? He's just having a look at us, having a slight interaction. He's not that interested though. One almost feels slightly rejected that he didn't want to hang around with us for a bit longer. But at the same time, it's so great when they're totally unaffected by our presence. Right, let's leave these two bulls. There are another two further down, bigger animals. Let's see what they're doing. Just in front of me there. I'm going to drive quite slowly down there, simply because the slower we move and the more quietly we allow the engine to run, the less likely they are to react to us. Impala in the background as well. So now this young bull's trying to show us who's boss by shaking his head. He's doing it in an entirely unconvincing way though. Throwing dust on himself to sort of help with the ectoparasites. If I'm not mistaken, that's probably a young cow. See how thin her tusks are and that they face almost directly downward. No, it's a young bull. Digging up this sort of soft sand in this area with his foot and then picking it up and tossing it on his back. That'll help get rid of parasites, like I say. It'll also cool the skin slightly. Janet in Boston has an interesting question. She's asked me what is the difference between a mammal and an animal? Often people talk about animals and they mean mammals. Animal strictly refers to anything that comes from the animal kingdom. And there are 5 classes in the animal kingdom, which include the mammals, the birds, the reptiles, the amphibians, and the fish, all of which would be, a lot more than that. There are two phyla in the animal kingdom, the invertebrates and the vertebrates, and it's any form, so that would include anything from a mammal, a bird, a reptile, an amphibian, a fish, and then all the invertebrates like bees and flies and wasps and moths and caterpillars and any other form of invertebrate, octopus, crabs, anything that basically moves on its own is known as an animal. A mammal, of course, is what we are and what impala are and what elephants are. They have some typical characteristics are that they give birth to live young, in all cases bar one, and I wonder if you could tell me what that is. They all have some form of hair on their bodies. So if you look at these elephants, the most obvious place that they have hair, of course, is on their tails. But they do, especially when they're young, they're born with a sort of light fuzz throughout the whole body. And the other thing they do is they suckle their young. All mammals will suckle their young. So an animal, strictly, Janet, is any form of organism that is able to sort of move on its own 2 feet, or 3 feet, or 6 feet, and even some that aren't. A sponge is also apparently an animal. But the most basic definition is that it can move and feed on its own. Going to reposition ourselves slightly. Lynn from Michigan, welcome to the sighting and thanks for your question. Lynn would like to know, have I ever had an elephant come too close to me or charge me? The answer, Lynn, is very seldom. I have once or twice in the Kruger Park area had an experience with elephants who have charged with a genuine seriousness. Mostly those are traumatized animals. So in the Kruger National Park, they used to cull elephants until about 1996. And it took a very long time for the elephants to trust vehicles and trust people again. They certainly used to be a lot more antsy than they are now. And when I started guiding in 2000, this elephant sighting wouldn't have presented much of a problem, but many others you'd only go into in reverse so that you could get out quickly. But as time has gone by, so these animals have just come to trust us again, because there was a moratorium put on the culling, and so the chances of being attacked or charged by an elephant are that much smaller. Also, elephants very seldom, unless they are severely traumatized, will just charge without a warning. So if you surprise them, they might, but normally they'll shake their heads, trumpet, and if you read their body language carefully, you can tell if they're going to if they're going to become aggressive. And so as long as you can read that behavior, it's normally pretty safe. I'm just going to go around the other side. That said, you can misinterpret the behavior, and it's quite easy to make mistakes, but with sufficient observation you should be fine. The sun is not great for this angle. I'm just going to have a look at this little one for a while, and then we'll move on a bit. This little one is, he's very dexterous with his trunk already, but the young elephants take probably up to 2 years to learn to use their trunks properly. There are over 1,000 muscle and nerve fibers in that trunk, and it just, when they're born, the trunks just flop around in a sort of useless appendage. A question from Orkney. When would elephants stop giving birth? The cows, I presume you mean. Well, as with most of the mammal kingdom, or most of the not mammal kingdom, mammal phylum, if you like, or mammal class. Sorry, I'm getting my taxonomy mixed up here. We're one of the only ones where we will live beyond breeding age. So an elephant cow will certainly, there is an advantage to having age in an elephant herd because of the knowledge that is retained by elephants, and they certainly do teach the youngsters where to go and where the water is and that sort of thing. So there certainly seems to be some sort of information passed on, and so they will live slightly beyond breeding age. Elephants in this area probably live to about 55 years, and so I would say the cows probably for the last 5 or 10 years of their lives are not giving birth. But in just about all other animals, so for example lions or impala, once breeding age or once breeding ceases, they die almost immediately because they don't have that necessity to pass on information. So in some of the primate species like us, for example, we live well beyond breeding age, and that's because of the information retention that there is in generations that are older. going to just spend a bit more time with these elephants. But while I reposition the vehicle, you're going to go off to Brent and see how he's doing.
Welcome back, everyone. It's been such a fantastic morning. We're sitting here on our northern boundary at the moment, just checking what could have possibly come down this long straight road. But I'm just going to say cheers and goodbye now. We've had such a fantastic morning, and I know James is with those ellies. For those of you who might have signed in a bit late, we did a lot of tracking early in the morning, and we were unlucky. The tracks just kept evading us and heading off our property. But we were lucky enough to bump into those 2 Matimba males and the 2 Styx lionesses, and we spent some really nice quality time and wonderful light with them. And I know James has got some great ellies, so we're going to say goodbye, and hopefully we'll catch you all on the sunset safari. Really excited. Hopefully we can find some leopards, and we will definitely try our best. So from Bryan and myself, have a wonderful rest of your day or morning or evening, wherever you are in the world, and we'll see you on the sunset safari.
Welcome back, everyone. I haven't parked in a particularly great position to see the elephants now, but there's a young one just less than 10 meters from us now, and he's not reacting to our presence at all. So while you can't see him that well, it's such an incredible privilege to be sitting this close to one of nature's greatest wonders. I can see into his eyes. Burgundy red eyes. Scratching his ear. Now he's listening to my voice. Isn't that special? Oh, that's wonderful. Here we go. It's a little one charging us from behind, a tiny little thing. And now it's got a flight. Have to be a little bit careful now. Look at the little one. As I was saying, look at the trunk. Was that not the most spectacular experience? I'm a bit speechless after that. There's still some more coming from behind us. But you can see how those first elephants headed off in exactly that same direction. Oh, look at this little one here in front of us now. He's trying to decide how big and tough he really is. And he's decided not very, just yet. You'll get there, fella. That's it. I don't think I've ever seen one stand on its back legs like that. So you can see he makes his charge, and then when we don't react, he pretends he's been actually looking for food. He's not really attacking us. He's got very unusual skin, that one. The big cow in front of us now is just comforting the little one. You can see the little one is streaming from behind the ears. So she's just comforting it. And she's probably calling. There's another small one behind us here. And she's probably going to wait for that one and make sure that we don't pose any form of threat. So as I was saying, they wander off down in the same direction. They're not in visual contact now with those first ones, with that elephant that had the trunk that was missing. They're not in visual contact with them anymore, but the infrasonic rumbles that they make will travel across huge spaces, and they'll stay in audio contact. This is quite a big herd. There's still more coming from behind us.
I don't know which way to point the camera.
Right next to us here. Slightly older cow. Well, I mean, not older compared to what we've seen. So we've got 2 minutes left on this morning safari. We're going to just stay right where we are because I don't want to start the engine while these elephants are so relaxed around us. It's just such an immense privilege. I hope you've enjoyed them and everything else we've discovered today. Thank you for being with us. Thank you for all the questions. Thank you for the comments. And mostly thank you for your time. I hope you've enjoyed Africa this morning. And we'll see you again this afternoon. So it's a goodbye from Andrew and me, and the control room of Tara and Will and Eugene, and I'm sure Brent and Bryon have said goodbye to you. We'll see you in the afternoon. And for the last little while, just enjoy the spectacular hour.